Rob here at Trailer.com, and today you're going to be taking a look at the CURT Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2015 Volvo V60. Now you can see that our hitch is going to have a really nice appearance to it, and that's because the cross tube is going to be completely hidden behind the bumper, and all we're going to see is that receiver tube sticking out. And since it is a Class 3, it's going to give us that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, so we're going to have a really wide variety of options when it comes to accessories. But regardless of how we're going to be using it, all of our accessories are going to mount using the hitch pin holder here on the side. Now our hitch is going to accept a standard 5/8 pin and clip. Now these are not included with the kit, but you can pick them up here at Trailer.com along with some locking devices to make sure your accessories are secure. Now if you are going to be towing a trailer, you obviously need a spot to hook your safety chains up. And we're going to have a loop style connection point at the bottom of our receiver tube, and even with most size hooks, we're going to have plenty of room to get those on or off. Now, as far as the weight ratings go, our hitch is going to have a 350-pound tongue weight. It's going to be the maximum downward force at the end of the receiver tube here. That's going to be great for some of those larger bike racks, carry even up to 4 or 5 bikes, or if you want to put a cargo carrier back here. But keep in mind, whatever accessory you put in, you want to double check the capacity of the accessory as well as the hitch and go with the lowest rating. Now our hitch is also going to have a 3,500-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's how much it can pull, including the trailer and everything we have loaded on it. But you do want to double check your Volvo's owner's manual because you don't want to exceed any of the manufacturer's recommended weights. I'd like to give you a few measurements, and these are going to help you out when you're looking for accessories for your new hitch, such as a ball mount, a bike rack, or even a cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper is going to be right about 5 inches. Now for one, that's going to mean that our hitch is sitting underneath our bumper a little bit, so we're not going to have to worry about hitting our leg, which is a nice thing. But that measurement we want to keep in mind when we're looking at folding accessories to make sure we have enough room here and they're not going to come in contact with the rear bumper. And from the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be right about 11.5 inches. Now that measurement is going to help you out when you're looking for a ball mount, so you can match it up to your trailer and get the appropriate rise or drop. But at that height also, we can see that it's pretty close to the ground here, so I would definitely recommend a bike rack or a cargo carrier with a raised shank. That way we can get a little bit more ground clearance out of it. But now that we've seen what our hitch looks like and gone over some of the features, let's get it installed together. To begin our installation, we want to come to the very back of our Volvo, and if we come underneath the rear bumper here, we'll find 4 screws that are in the center section. We need to pull all those out. We'll grab a T25 Torx bit, and we'll pull 2 out on each side. Now if we move into the rear wheel well, we're going to start at the very back behind our rear tire. If we look inside, we'll see that we're going to have several fasteners going along the edge here. We need to pull all of those out. There's going to be a total of 5 of them. So again, we'll use that same T25 Torx bit. Now when you're removing these, it is a good idea to use a hand ratchet rather than a power tool because it is just going into plastic and we don't want to strip those screws out. Once you have all those removed from the inside of the wheel well, you're going to move to the other side of the car and remove those as well. Now we're going to move to the back of our Volvo and open up the hatch. Right at the bottom, right by the sill, we'll have that rubber bumper that the hatch rests on. We're going to want to grab it with our hand and turn it counterclockwise about a half a turn, about a quarter turn. So you can turn it, and then we should be able to just grab it and pull it out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. At this point, we can get ready to remove our fascia. You want to grab yourself an extra set of hands because our fascia is rather large and we don't want to drop it, cause any damage or any scratches. But we're going to start where our fender meets the fascia here. We'll go into the wheel well, and we're just going to peel that liner back just a bit so that we can get a hold of the actual fascia itself. You want to grab the edge of it and start pulling away, and it's going to release the clips. Once we get to about the taillight section, you may need to grab underneath, kind of start working it, pulling it back so it'll let go. And then you just want to work your way towards the center till we get it loose, and you want to double check to see if there's any connectors that you need to disconnect before you get too far away. And we're going to have a connector over on the passenger side, so we'll make sure to disconnect that. On the very end here, we're going to have this large gray plug. There'll be a little tab on there. You want to press in on it. I should be able to work it loose, pull the plug apart. Then we'll set our fascia aside where it won't get damaged. Now that our bumper beam is exposed, we're going to need to remove this as well. And on each side, there's going to have 2 bolts on top holding it in place, and then 1 bolt on the bottom right above our exhaust tip. We'll grab a 13mm socket and we'll pull all those bolts out. Now, since our bumper beam is rather large, I do suggest leaving 1 bolt really loose. That way, once we take the last one out, we don't have to worry about it falling on us. And once all of them are loose, we can take that final one out and remove the bumper beam and set it aside for right now. I'd like to go over the combination of hardware that we're going to use to secure our hitch in place, because it's going to be a little bit easier for me to show you now rather than trying to hold everything together. We'll have a new M10 bolt in our kit, and we'll have conical tooth washers. The washer, you want to make sure that the teeth are facing away from the head of the bolt or towards the hitch. We're going to put our hitch up and sandwich it between the body of the vehicle and our crash bumper, and then we're going to go through all of it and, using our new bolts, go into the weld nuts that are on the body. To make it easier to lift our hitch and bumper beam as one assembly, we're going to lower it down onto the hitch and get it pretty close lined up with the holes, and then I'm going to grab an extra set of hands and we'll lift it up all at once. And we want to get our holes lined up in our bumper beam and the hitch. And once we do, we'll take our hardware and go through our bumper beam, through the hitch, and you want to get at least 1 bolt hand tight on each side. That way everything is going to hold itself up and we don't have to worry about it falling off. Now that we know that our hitch is supported, we're going to use the same combination of hardware for all the remaining holes. I'm going to come back with a 17mm socket, and I'm going to snug up all my hardware. Then make sure you come back with a torque wrench and torque all the hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. And we're going to repeat that for all of our remaining hardware. Before we put our fascia back in place, we are going to have to do some trimming so there's room for the hitch to come out. Now, we want to find the very center point of our hitch. The way I did that is I just took these 2 attachment points, measured in between, and cut that measurement in half. And then we'll follow the directions in the diagram that are in our instructions, and went ahead and marked all that out. Now, when you go to cut it out, you can use a rotary tool, a pair of tin snips, or whatever you have available. You just want to take your time and cut it out. And one good tip is when you go to cut this out, I suggest cutting it a little bit smaller than you think you need to, because we can always go back and take more material away, but we can't replace it. We can always come back and clean up the edges and clear off that excess plastic. Now, with the next set of hands, we'll put our fascia back in place. You want to make sure that you put your electrical connector back in place over on the passenger side. Make sure it's locked in, give it a quick tug. We can line up the fascia, put everything back in place. And once we know it goes around the hitch, we just go in, start pushing the fascia back in so those clips fasten. Now that we know everything's lined up and back in place, we can start replacing all of our fasteners. And once you have all your fasteners back in place, that'll finish up your installation and look at the CURT Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2015 Volvo V60.